right. Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of StormWatch. I am your host, John Willis, here with the lovely Brad Willis. We're both co-hosts on this. We're equals. And we are going to talk about the most recent games for the Hurricanes, recap the week as usual, as well as just throw in a couple other topics at the end. We touched upon it last episode in terms of who we were potentially going to play in the playoffs. We'll take another look at that because in just one short week, things have changed quite a bit in terms of who we might actually play. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So first up, we played Boston on Thursday. That was the first home game after 4 days off, which is a weirdly long break at this time of the season. And the Hurricanes looked like they hadn't played in a while.
Right, exactly. They were just waking up.
I was at this game. I took a friend to see this game, and I got to stop taking people to see games because anytime I bring someone other than my season ticket mate and my girlfriend, it doesn't work this season. Now I'm going to try again next season, but we just keep losing. It's statistically, it's 100% and 100%. 100% of the time that Angel comes, we win. 100% of the time that I bring someone else, we lose. It doesn't make any sense this season. So that's been really frustrating, especially given that it was against the Bruins. So I always like to beat the Bruins. We beat them earlier in the season, January 24th, by a score of 3-2. Spencer Martin was in net that game. He had a really good game.
Yeah.
But this game was Anderson's first loss since he's come back. So he was bound to get one eventually. This loss was not his fault by any means. We really lost the game, I'd say, within the first 10 minutes of the game. I don't know what the time their third goal was, but that pretty much sealed our fate. I think,
Yeah.
Yes.
Remind me. I have a comment to make or question to make about Spencer Martin at the end of the telecast. So
okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
so
good.
for example, Gensel's goal, the only goal we had was kind of he just batted it in. He just kind of lucky.
Yeah, it was a weird goal. It happened to be on the power play.
And then there was an empty netter. But the first period.
But the first period was a breakaway from Marchand, then a breakaway from Pasternak, and then Pasternak has a really nice feed to, what's this cat's name? Danton Heinen, for his 16th of the season. So that was all. 2:12 was the first goal, 7:42 was the second goal, and 10:46 into the period was the third goal. So, like I said, the game was pretty much wrapped up 3-0 in those first 10 minutes. Gensel got one in the second, and then Lindholm near the end of the game. I believe that was the empty netter.
Empty netter.
Yeah. Yep. Drury tried to get it going in the first period after those three goals, and I commend him for it, but it was the worst timing. And I remember saying this at the game because he fought the guy, and then immediately they go to a TV timeout. Immediately. So it was just 3 minutes where, okay, well, the crowd is amped after the fight, and then you're just sitting there doing nothing on it. So it was just poorly timed. It was just poorly timed. It was a pretty good fight. I think I'd say it was 50-50 overall. They both got in a couple good shots. Drury, got one or two in there at the end as it was kind of wrapping up. So it was a good fight. But yeah, tough game overall. Any other thoughts on the game? That was just sloppy D at the very start of the game, and we kind of tightened it up towards the end, but it was just too little, too late. It was like I said, it was over in the first 10.
Yeah, they got off to a slow start. As a matter of fact, I believe that slow start carried over into the first quarter of the next game, the Capitals game.
Yeah.
They seem to be. It's like it really kind of worried me for a second because it's like, oh my God, we just saw three periods of really lackluster play, and it's carried over now into the Capitals game.
Yeah. Ovechkin gets the first two of the game at 3:31 into the game, and then with less than a minute to go at 9:15
left. Yeah,
it was a really nice deflection. You can never guard Ovi tight enough. I guess he just keeps finding ways to score, and he is gonna break Gretzky's record. It was looking like he wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah,
he's gonna do it. That's pretty remarkable. And now Matthews is. Nearing in on 70. Is he going to be eventually the next guy to do it? We'll see. But yeah, Ovechkin gets two in the first. Then Gensel with a really nice play, just to kind of bat it in as it's bouncing on the ground, kind of a floating pass above everyone. And as it's kind of landing, he's able to bat it over over who was the net? Kemper, who had actually a really good game. Shots were 45-16 to end this game, but like you said, they did get off to a really hot start. Natchez, then Aho, both on the power play in the third period. That Aho goal was pretty late, and then Gensel got the empty netter with 5 seconds left. So his second goal of the game, his first multi-goal game as a Hurricane, if I believe. So yeah, nice to see him scoring. Natchez gets on the board as well. Aho stays hot.
We put, after Ovechkin got tired and had to take a nap, we played pretty well.
Yeah, after he used all his Russian gas in the first period.
Yeah, so we did pretty strong in this game. You
2 for 4 on the power play,
45-16.
45-16. I mean, that's just domination.
60% in the face-off circle. Yeah, it was pretty good game for us once we settled down.
Yeah, and then we carried the momentum of that one. Unless you've got anything else on that one.
One thing I want to notice, and I noticed it about the Bruins, but I also noticed about Washington. These teams are kind of getting away with marginal interference.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stepping in the way of people kind of hovering around after the puck is left. I've noticed that a couple times. So it's veteran teams.
They're bigger teams. Yeah, exactly. They're bigger, older teams. Not that we're young and, we've got some big boys, Stahl and Svetch, but.
Yeah. So the other thing I noticed in this game was before Ovi's second goal, Shea was called with an intentional offsides, which I thought was totally bogus. And Rod went berserk. Coach went berserk on that, and it led to.
I can't even imagine the scenario.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah, but yeah.
The puck was leaving the blue line as Pesce was racing at full steam to keep it in. It wasn't intentional. He just didn't get there in time.
Oh, Pesce or Shea? You said Shea earlier. Oh, okay.
No, did I say Pesce? It was Shea, I think.
Yeah, we never seem to get the calls. I mean, in the next Boston game that we'll get to, the call on the ice for Natchez's first, the first goal, what would have been the first goal of the game, like just a few minutes in, was a call on the ice for good goal for Natchez. And then they look at it and they call it back. But the call on the ice is good goal. So unless there's definitive proof.
Oh, is that the puck that was just died? That was the goal.
We'll talk about we don't need to talk about it, but I just want to make the point that definitive proof is no longer a thing in the NHL. Definitive proof used to be the call on the ice stands unless you have absolute proof that it shouldn't be the right call. And if the call on the ice is good goal, then you need 100% proof that it did not cross the line. The camera angles that they had didn't suffice, in my opinion. It looks like it's over the line. It's fucking impossible to tell, but the call on the ice is good goal, so it should be a goal. We're not even at that game.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that is the cameras that we have access to through the telecast may not be the same views
That's true.
Seeing. And that's the only way I could figure out that they.
I would just. Yeah, I guess that's just my general frustration at Hurricanes and challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see a statistical breakdown of challenges, both Rod-initiated, coach-initiated challenges, and league-initiated challenges, and which direction they get called for us. I would love to see those stats. I don't know how someone can compile those, but I would love that. Anyways, let's move on to the Columbus game, and then we'll come back to the game with that call in it. Columbus, we beat them 3-0, just dominating from start to finish, 35-23 for shots, 10-16 block shots in favor of Columbus. Hits was 18-4. We only had 4 hits in this game, but we didn't need to.
No need to.
Yeah, 1 for 4 on the power play. We only took 1 penalty in the game, which is nice. Svechnikov, he gets the scoring started just 17 seconds into the game. So good to see him score, and that type of goal just, Svech shooting it like Svech can. Goes far corner, just beats Malcolm Subban, who actually had a very good game. But yeah.
Yeah, so Subban, I didn't realize
first start since 2022.
Yeah.
First NHL start since 2022.
Yeah, I thought, when he came up, I thought, okay, he must be something because he was drafted, I think, pretty high.
I think he's right at that line. He's probably equivalent to a Spencer Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
also with Columbus.
Back to Svetch, I had notes on the previous game where Svetch was shooting anything that came on his puck.
He's been building momentum, and he finally gets rewarded this game, and then also again in the Boston game upcoming. So, he gets his 18th of the season. Aho in the power play, he gets his 35th of the season. So Aho's nipping at 40. It's going to be a season or two before he gets there. Teravainen then gets his 22nd in the third period to make it 3-0. That one was a shot that Subban never really even saw. Turbo just kind of curls with it and then fires it through traffic. Really nice shot. Yeah, easy to beat a team like Columbus. When you're a team like Carolina, I feel like all of our games versus opponents like that should look like that. There's a moral in here somewhere, but the whole Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey trade never has done anything for Columbus, in my opinion. I don't even know what his stats are. I think Columbus was mentioned once in that game. Yeah, it's when Jarvis made a nice little shutdown play on him.
I feel bad for both him and the franchise, but it's not working. In fact, I saw something today on one of the blogs about maybe there's some rumors that they're going to move on from Gaudreau, but he's $10 million a year or something like that. So
it's extremely expensive. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Should have stayed with the Flames.
Yeah.
Well, let's move right on to Boston. Boston was a comeback game. The first game against Boston in the week was a loss 4-1. This one was a win 4-1. Both of them being wins for the away team. Carolina visited TD Garden.
We won the series 3 games, 2 out of 3 games that we played Boston this year.
Yeah, it was a good game. The shots were pretty even in the first period, but I thought Carolina definitely had the better of the play pretty much all 3 periods. Shot totals were 26-23, but a lot of those shots came really late in the game for Boston as they were trying to play catch up. Svechnikov is back, it seems. He does a Svetch goal. He does a lacrosse goal. He does a
third lacrosse move in the NHL.
No, third for him.
Third for him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I believe he has the most. Zegras, I think, has 2.
Zegras has 1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah, I think Zegras might have 2.
Does Milano
someone else has 2 as well. But I believe Svetch is the leader. Anyway.
Oh, that was beautiful. It was so beautiful, the refs didn't even see it go in.
It was lightning.
Yeah, it was so quick.
So quick. On his blade, over the goaltender's shoulder. It looked from the replay like it actually hit the camera inside the net and bounced right out, and that's why it didn't even travel to the back post. It just went right off that camera, which is situated about halfway through the across the top of the net. But yeah, he's back. Two goals in 2 straight games, and both of them really good goals. He's looking good with that Stahl and Martinook line. That's really good. We'll talk about it after
but yeah, he's getting his shots.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know if we're gonna I don't know if we're really gonna have that shutdown line Stahl, Martinook, fast come playoff time. I mean, I think Rod can always throw it together if he needs to.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna try to let the skill win. We've got so much skill that I think we can spread the skill out and I think it might yield better results. We'll come back to it later, but we need to get the Kuznetsov Natchez line going a little bit more. They're still producing the Natchez Turbo Kuznetsov line, but need to get some of those members a little bit more activated. We'll come back to that.
So I do want to make it before you leave Svechnikov. I did see him. It was in the first period. It was like less than a minute to go. Boston turned the puck quickly, and it was a 2-on-1, and Svetch comes flying out of nowhere to back check the driving Bruin, and it turns into nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I was just really impressed with his desire to get back and play D.
He's been really engaged the past few games. Yeah. Not even from just, and even before, like I said, he's been building to this. It's been a steady progression. He's due to become himself again. So it's looking like it's happening. He gets an assist on the second goal of the game, that being in the second period as well. I think I may have misspoken and said his first goal was in the first period. It was in the second period, about halfway through the game. Turbo would then score from Svechnikov just a couple minutes later. That was off a really good shift by the fast line, was actually on the ice, doing some really good work, hemming them in, and then allowing the Svechnikov-Teravainen line to get on the ice, and get that in the back of the net. McAvoy would get one late in the period, with about 3 minutes to go to make it 2-1. But that was really it for Boston. They didn't really have a lot of grade A looks, at least that are coming to mind.
They looked like they were, I don't know if they were pacing themselves. They just didn't. They were ornery. Marchand was ornery.
Marchand was a bit of a. Yes, he was.
He just walks that line every.
He walks that line so delicately. So he gets the hit on Pesce in the first period, which is definitely a penalty. That's 100% boarding. He goes right through his numbers. Pesce has no idea that he's there. Pesce is just done delivering a pass, and he goes straight through his numbers. I mean, Pesce was right to be ticked off on that play. No call on that one. Then later, he does get a call against Natchez. Natchez is taking it out from behind his own net, tries to make a move around Marchand. Does make the move, but Marchand kind of leads with his knee. Now, Tripp on the broadcast said he didn't really have a lot, big problem with it. That's because the camera angles, I don't think, really saw it, but it was called a penalty, right? The referee was right there, right? It was tripping.
Yeah.
So, but it was knee-on-knee contact, and, he doesn't necessarily, extend the leg out, but he can see that it's going to happen, in my opinion. That could be the end of someone's career.
Injury.
100%. And so you're right. He just toes that line, and, it was really annoying, but, the Hurricanes didn't let it bother them. It was dominating this game. No power play goals, but we did get a shorthanded goal later in the game from Jarvis, but that was just before Jake Gensel got his 28th of the season. It's deemed as unassisted now, but Orlov and who else? I believe maybe Jarvis would have gotten the assists on the play. It was an own goal, so then they give it to the last Hurricane.
Right. That's the own goal.
But Gensel makes a hell of a play, a good cycle play. Orlov, I believe, has a blast, and then Gensel's kind of coming through the slot and hits it back at Swayman. It hits off the bar, I believe, and then kind of lands right behind Swayman. And Pavel Zacha, I believe, tries to clear it and basically just bashes it off the back of his own goaltender and, reverses direction, goes back in the net. So
But
it was a good effort. It was they deserved a goal on that play.
Yeah, and I had made a note about Orlov. Looked really good. He jumped.
Mm-hmm.
He I really like the way he's been playing lately.
Yeah, he's been great.
If you think about our defensive players,
although him and Chatfield, I think if I recall correctly, in the game against Boston, the first of the week, one of the two breakaways was from that defensive pairing was on the ice, and they did not gap up and play positionally well on that one. But other than that, they've been great. No one was good that game.
In our last telecast, I made mention of those guys being a little bit off sync, where Chatfield did a back pass to Orlov, and Orlov was making a line change, and he wasn't there to receive the puck. So they need to work on that. But what I was going to say is, out of all six of our starting defensemen, Orlov is the one most likely to rush the net.
Yes.
Shea can do it sometimes, Slavin very rarely, but you'll never. Well, I guess Burns can do it too, but
he doesn't necessarily rush the net though. He'll pick and choose, and occasionally he'll deke through some guys, but
that's what I mean.
He doesn't do it a ton. He doesn't do it. I think your
It's
lineup
up,
is correct.
though,
I think Orlov is most likely, then Shea, then probably maybe even Slavin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just looking at the plus minus and on the defenseman for that in that game, and Orlov and Pesci were plus minus 0. So okay.
So they must have been on the ice for the
who was that scored for them?
McAvoy.
McAvoy.
He pounds one home. It happened to be a one-timer, but it wasn't actually passed to him. It was just a deflected shot.
Kind of hit him here. And...
Yeah, it was I didn't love it, but Kochekov was fine the rest of the game, so wasn't bad. Yeah. So good week overall. 3 for 1. Let's take a look at the standings real quick. You got those pulled up?
Yeah. So,
any other thoughts on that game before we just talk about the standings?
Yeah, I have the playoff standings up. So in the playoffs in the Atlantic Division is Boston, Florida.
Well, let's go through just tell me how close we are to the Rangers right now. What's the situation there? So we got 3 points behind
in 3 games.
3 points in 3 games. Okay. So probably not likely. Probably not likely, but yeah, who do the Rangers play? Can you pull that up?
They're home all 3 games.
Ugh. We're
Philadelphia Islanders. Philadelphia Islanders and Ottawa.
Okay, well, yeah, all right, well.
The Islanders just beat them.
Islanders just beat them.
And Islanders are desperate. Well, they're in right now, but they still have to hold their spot. Philadelphia should be desperate. Ottawa's a cakewalk.
Should be, yeah.
Should be a cakewalk. Okay. So we're 3 points behind, so we're going to finish in second.
We'll finish in second, more than likely. But that being said, we had a conversation last episode about who did we want to play or who did we maybe not want to play in the playoffs. And we're talking about what teams were we talking about? The Flyers, the Capitals, and the Red Wings.
Caps, I think.
Well, now the Flyers, they're not going to make it.
They're not going to make it.
They're not going to make it. I mean, they are imploding. 9-3, I think they lost earlier this week.
Yeah, they're going crazy.
They are just choking at the.
It's up to 3 teams for the final wild card spot because everyone else is.
Yeah, the Lightning are a lock.
Yeah. It's between Washington, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. And actually, I don't really want to play any of those teams. I think right now we're set up to get past the Islanders in round 1.
Yeah, and we could play the Islanders because
we've always had good luck with them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They are playing really well right now, but
they're playing well, but I don't think I'm not super concerned. I mean, I guess if what's his face gets hot, Sorokin, but he hasn't really had that great of a season. Now he might be playing better towards the end of the season here, but I mean, we've just got so much more talent than they do. I'm not concerned about that.
I'm
not concerned about that.
But it's the second round that's going to be an issue.
Well, yeah. So, I guess let's stick to the first round real quick. But then between the Penguins and Capitals and Red Wings, I mean, I don't really want to play. Don't love playing the Penguins. Are coming in so hot right now. We weren't discussing them last week because they weren't in the race last week, and now they're right there in the race.
It tells you how unnecessary Gensel was.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
got ripped off.
Yeah, Bunting has been stellar for them. He has played well as far as I can, roughly keep my eye on.
It's not his play at least. It wasn't ever his play that bugged me.
No, and here's the thing. I all the chintzy little after the whistle stuff. I think that's your kind of issue with. I didn't really have an issue with that. He never was overly taking penalties. I mean, not to like a Svechnikov degree. And at least he's agitating, whereas Svech isn't agitating.
That wasn't my issue with him.
My issue with him was just he didn't figure out the system defensively. It was tough for him.
Like
a week or two before he got traded, I remember watching a game and Natchez is pointing to him like, "Yo, go get your guy." It's like, we're pretty far along in the season at this point.
There was some.
But he was working well on the power play, that bumper position. Yeah. I thought he played really well there, but Gensel's clearly an upgrade.
I just think that he took some shifts off. and I think, I don't know what it was.
Well,
I just think he was a selfish. Like, I think I saw a game where he was mad someone didn't pass it to him, and the person who didn't pass it to him ended up scoring. So I'm like, that's not right.
Yeah. I think they said that, or it was reported that maybe he was part of the locker room kerfuffle that happened at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season.
But yeah, moving on. Capitals, Penguins, Red Wings. Not too thrilled about any of those. But then, like you said, going into the second round, if you even get past the first, Rangers and the Lightning might have, or excuse me, no. It would be Rangers and Caps, right?
No, yeah, you're right. Rangers and Caps, yeah. So we would not see the Lightning until the conference finals.
We are looking at playing the Islanders or the Capitals because we're probably going to be playing the third divisional person, correct?
We are going to play the third. But I mean, points out.
But I guess Penguins are also in that mix.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're only 2 points out. Yeah.
Yeah, but then in the next round, it's always a doozy.
I mean, it could be anyone, to be honest with you. Yep. It could be the Islanders. It's not going to be. It's not going to be. That could be Washington.
That's what I'm saying. They're all in our division.
Yeah.
we don't know who we're going to play. We won't know who we're going to play until the last game of the season.
We should look up the stats this year on our record versus those 4 teams. We'll do that next time.
Yeah, we'll definitely do some good playoff preview stuff. Now the playoffs start, I believe, on the 20th, so that's a Saturday. So we've got 3 days off before the playoffs start.
Okay.
I guess we're either going to play Saturday or Sunday. So we'll we'll have to schedule something one of those days. Okay, now you mentioned earlier, Bunting taking shifts off. There's a couple of, mostly just one guy who I feel has been taking some shifts off, and he came in and started so hot for us. And that's Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Yeah.
He's cooling off for me.
Yeah.
I think he's got a couple points over this stretch here. I know he assisted on a goal, but he's not doing it like he was doing it. And I'm not certain what's going on. Well, maybe it's just a bit of, rough patch luck this week, but also the defensive effort, the body language isn't great all the time.
So here's what I'll say about Evgeny Kuznetsov.
We knew what we were getting, but still doesn't mean it's frustrating to see.
He's big enough and he's physical enough that he'll battle on the board. But if he has to chase anyone down,
he's not going
like anywhere.
No.
You're right. He's not there for his defense.
But if he's not producing offensively, what's he doing there?
He's got 1 point, and it was an assist.
Yeah.
In last 5 games.
Yeah. Now his line mates.
He's not giving up any goal. He's not giving up any goals while he's on the ice. He's a +1 over those 5 games, and it was
okay.
So what I'm saying is, he hasn't been detrimental, at least only indirectly, is what I'm saying. People aren't getting by him and scoring.
Yeah, well, plus minus isn't necessarily the best stat to go off of on that. But yeah, I understand your point. Like, we've won most of the games, and I'm not saying it's a big issue. What has been interesting to see is KK not in the lineup for most of the week. I think he played against Washington.
Yeah, it's not good either.
But yeah, so that kind of leads me into the next thing I just briefly wanted to talk about. Do you have that list of free agents for us?
I do.
Okay, so just we're just gonna take a couple like broad strokes here because I'm not gonna get into the specifics of all the money. I'll give you rough estimations of the money, but
yeah,
the cap is going up by 4 million or something like that, right? Something like that, 3.5, 4 million, something like that. Not a ton, but you look at the list of guys that we've got to resign. Do you have that up?
I do.
And it's a long list of really good players. Go ahead
Let
and
me
just
read.
run
Let me
through it.
read. Let me read them off to you real quick, and then we can talk about them.
Yep.
Teravainen, Gensel, Martinuk, Nason, Nachus, Drury, Jarvis, Shea, Pesci, Chatfield, Tony D, Auntie Bronta, and Spencer Martin.
Okay.
So
that's half of your forward core, 6 of them.
At least, yeah.
And 3 of your defensive core.
Half and half.
I'm no offense to Tony D'Angelo, but I don't think he'll maybe who knows? Maybe they'll keep him on because they can't figure out what to do, who else to sign to make the
He's
1
an
year.
option, John.
He's an option. He's an option. I don't hate the guy.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think he does bring some. I mean, look at his first season with the Hurricanes.
Yeah,
there is definitely some positivity to be had there. He played alongside Jacob Slavin, and it was great.
Yeah.
Now we know who's doing the heavy lifting there, but
right.
it can work. There's a system which we can find him in that can potentially work. So Teravainen, Gensel, Martinuk, Nason, Natchez, Drury, Jarvis. Let's just start with the forwards. You can't keep them all. So who just kind of high level is kind of, who do you kind of try to target, and then who do you kind of give up as a result of trying to target?
Yeah, that's a very good question. My number one on our team next year there's 2.
Yeah, I've got
probably
2, so.
equally important, and that's Gensel and Jarvis.
Yeah, I would say Jarvis is almost of more importance, only because you get him at a lower number, and you probably can get him longer term. You're probably going to want to give Gensel as long of term as well, but Jarvis is just younger. So for that reason, and the fact that he's younger and probably costs a little bit less, and is probably only going to produce just a little bit less than Gensel.
He's probably outproduced. Well, he's got more goals than Gensel this year.
Gensel has been on fire since he's become a Hurricane. His points since he's become a Hurricane, I don't know what it is, but he's over a point per game. Well over a point per game.
Okay.
Most of them have been assists up until recently, but he's got, in this past week, he's got at least 3 goals. He got 2 in the 1 game. He got the 1 shorthanded or the 1 power play goal against Boston the first game. So yeah, he's been. Yeah, and then he's got 4 goals in the past 4 games.
Yeah, you're right. He's a little bit hotter than Jarvis.
So yes, those are my 2 top guys that I'd like to resign. I think you do that at the cost of giving up other things. Now, you say, okay, those are my top 2 targets. That means you have to give up the third top target, probably, right? And the third top guy would be Marty Natchez, in my opinion, right?
I agree.
I think he's fine enough defensively, and I think the offensive talent is shown that he can be at least around a 30-goal scorer pretty consistently, at least around 30 to 45, 35 to 40 assists. I don't know what are his stats right now.
I'm gonna look it up.
But he can be that 60 to 80 point guy. He's in that range, right?
Yeah.
But he's not as consistent as Gensel, and he's not as consistent as Jarvis in terms of the defensive aspect as well, the versatility. He doesn't kill penalty minutes.
And 29 assists in 53 games, or in 74 games. 53 points in 74 games, and minus
53 and 74. So he's a 60 to 8. Like, I think his ceiling is up there. I think his ceiling is 40 goals and 40 assists. I think he could do that. And he's still really young.
Yeah.
But I think you probably can't get all 3 of those guys.
He was drafted in 2017, 12th overall.
12th overall, that's a high pick.
That is a high pick.
Yep. Okay, so if that's said and you have to give him up, right, to get more, Give me 1 second
Well, if
here.
you're going to give up, if you think Natchez is going to leave, then you can probably afford Teravainen.
Yeah, you can probably afford Teravainen. Now, here's what I was thinking. What if you look at it from a different perspective and you look at the defensive core that we have right now? Okay, so we've got Orlov, we've got Slavin, and we've got Burns locked up for another year, right?
Yep.
Then you need to re-sign Pesce, Shea, Chatfield, right?
Yeah.
All of those guys are going to be pretty high valued. I'd say Chatfield is right under what Pesce would be getting paid, only because of the tenure that Pesce's, shown. He's been here for longer, right? He's done a little bit more for the organization. But Chatfield can slot in if Pesce can't be re-signed. Yeah. Now, I do think that Pesce's play this season hasn't been necessarily up to what it's been in the past seasons, but not by a wide margin. He's dealt with some injuries earlier in the season. I do think he adds a lot to the team. So what if you try to prioritize those guys and just pay them, right? You pay those
give
guys.
Up on Shea because of his price tag?
No. You pay Shea, you pay Pesce, and you pay Chatfield. You lock down those three. Then say you figure out a way to also keep Gensel and Jarvis, and then just kind of let whatever else fill in.
If you can do that,
you know what I mean?
That would be
if
good.
If you can lock down of the strongest defensive core in the league for at least another year, probably even more, you give Morrow time to develop, right? He can potentially come in the year following as maybe Orlov doesn't get re-signed or maybe Burns retires, something like that.
Yeah, Burns probably be retiring in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I'm really glad we got him for next year as well, right? That's correct, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I want to win a Stanley Cup for him so bad.
So
I want him to be our Ray Bork. Let him be our Ray Bork.
Pesce this year has 13 points, but he's a plus 10.
Yeah,
the only year he's been a negative plus minus is back in 17.
So so let's say we can't get what we want. We can't lock down all three of those guys, right? So you give up who? I would say
you gotta give up Shea.
No, I think
you gotta give up Shea because he's going to clear the most cap space for you.
I agree, but he's a lefty, and right-handed shot guys are a big commodity. Right-handed defensemen are a big commodity. Pesce is that. He's not Shea. I don't think he's Shea.
No.
In terms of offense or even defensively, at least this season.
Right.
Prior to this, I would have said, no, Pesce's got the edge defensively. This season, Shea's been just lights out across the board, and I think he knows he's about to get paid. I still think my preference is to pay Shea and give up Pesce. Now, when I say give him up, ideally you make a trade and you don't just let him go for nothing. Maybe you trade him right before he needs re-signed for a third-round pick or something like that. Something. Maybe there's a way to sign and trade. That's not really a very common thing anymore, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's going to be a very, very interesting offseason. Now, our prospect pool is really deep, but it's also really young. It's not quite there yet. And we gave up our biggest NHL-ready prospect in Ponomarev for, was that for Gensel or for Kuznetsov? One of the two.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting offseason. But
I like Braden Shea, but I think he's going to be a sacrificial lamb because we need to sign these forwards.
But I don't think you need to re-sign Teravainen. And I love Teravainen. I've got a jersey. He's one of my guys. I love Teravainen. But I don't think you need to re-sign him. I think you need to re-sign Jarvis.
Yeah, you don't.
And you need to re-sign either Gensel or Natchez. Yeah. I don't think you can lose both. And so luckily, Natchez is an RFA, so there's a little bit of leverage that's held there, but not a ton.
Yeah, I like Jarvis is an RFA too.
Jarvis is as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna give them an offer sheet. I feel it. One of the two is gonna get an offer sheet, which is I don't know.
Oh, that would suck.
I know, but I don't know. I just
Canadians
feel like
again.
Fuckers. If they get one of those two, look out. That could be a good team. Anyways.
So here's another thing.
Yeah.
All of our calculations in terms of cap space are including Kotkaniemi. So maybe we eat some of his salary and freeze some of it up.
So here's what I was thinking. What if there's a way to, like I said, you have to give up potentially, if we're looking at re-signing Gensel and Jarvis, you'd probably give up Natchez, right? So what if there's a way to package Natchez before his rights expire with us, as well as Kotkaniemi somewhere, so that you get rid of the cap space for whatever in return, to be quite honest. Really, at that point, you're just dumping the cap. But then by getting rid of what Natchez would have been paid and getting rid of what Kotkaniemi is paid now, that's a superstar that you can re-sign. That or at least that can ensure you that you can re-sign Gensel, right?
Right. That's what it does. It doesn't. So, you're not going to get a superstar for those
now. Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. You're not going to get a superstar, but it frees up the cap space to get something like that. That's all I'm saying. The cap space is what I'm most referring to with something like that. Because, KK is not adding to the team right now.
Yeah.
He's not subtracting, but he's not adding. And I think everyone else on the lineup adds. Everyone on the lineup, I think, adds in certain ways. Nason, even when he's having not the best game, he's putting in the hustle. Him and Drury behind the net, grinding away minutes.
This is Turbo's. I'm assuming he was the 18th pick in 2012. So I'm assuming I can look right here at the stats. No, he didn't get up to the Blackhawks until really 2014-15.
And then he won the cup.
He won the cup early on.
I'm always worried about guys that win the cup early on.
Yeah.
Gensel's like that too.
Yeah. Does
it make you hungrier because you want to get back there and the elation of having done it the first time?
He's just a strange cat. He seems so shy.
He's so interesting. He's literally a cat.
Yeah, he scores a goal, ho-hum, makes a great pass, ho-hum.
Yeah.
Lets in a goal, ho-hum. It's hard. He's a hard guy to read.
I think he wants to win. I think he's a competitor. I think the way he plays defensively, he's a smart player, right? That's it. That's his biggest attribute is his smarts. He knows he's anticipatory on defense, and he's a great passer.
I know you don't like this, but I'll just read off his last couple of years. This year, he's got 51 points in 75 games. He's a plus 16. Last year, he had 37 points in 68 games, plus 11. The year before was a really good year, 21-22 season. He had 65 points in 77 games, a plus 22. That was his best year with us.
He had that one dip, but he was injured for the season before last, and he was also injured, I believe, at the start of this season. But he's a good player, man. He's got the same points production.
Part of his value for us is the Finnish connection. He seems to connect with these guys, whether it's Otto or Gensel, or he's a very smart hockey player.
Well, Gensel's not the Finnish connection.
I know, but I'm just saying
he's cerebral.
Yes,
well. Yes, and that's why I'm excited to see if he can build something with Kuznetsov and Natchez. Because when we first got Kuznetsov and Gensel, we were talking about potential line combination. And that's one that I brought up as what could that be? Because you've got Kuznetsov and you've got Turbo, who are pass first guys. And Natchez, he's not necessarily a shoot first guy, but he's the shooter on that line for sure, right? And so it forces one of the two guys to probably also become a shooter, or at least, because they both have great shots, Kuznetsov and Turbo. They love
who's
passing
on who's on Kuznetsov's line this last week?
It was it was at least a couple games they did this Natchez Turbo Kuznetsov thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying.
Let's just keep it riding.
We'll see how it goes, but he needs to pick it up, Kuznetsov.
Yeah.
All right, so he's my little, stud of the week. But Svetch is the stud of the week.
Yeah.
You don't score a slick goal like that.
Okay, I want to ask a question before we end this session.
All right, final question.
I saw on the broadcast last night. I like listening to the opposing announcers.
I do too. Sometimes.
They showed our goalie stats: Kochetkov, Anderson, and then they had Spencer Martin. 4-0-1. There's 2 shutouts maybe or something like that.
Yeah, like a 9-11 save percentage.
Yeah,
good stats. Spencer Martin's got great stats.
So if we win the Stanley Cup, does Spencer Martin get his name on the cup?
If he plays in the playoffs. That's how it works. If he plays a game in the playoffs, he has to.
No, I don't think so, because you could be injured, and you're not going to give your name on the cup if you're injured before.
You have to play 20 games in the regular season, or you have to play 1 game in the playoffs. That's the rules.
Yeah,
that's the rules. Now the team probably can opt to put him on or not. If I'm Spencer Martin, though, do you want to be on it? If you're retiring, you probably do.
His job is done, right? Those 4 wins, they weren't going to determine whether we made the playoffs or not. It probably determined our seeding.
Yeah, they were good. He filled in at a very critical time.
It was critical,
very critical time. And I'm not going to say that the season would have been different if he hadn't have stepped in, but the recovery, the bounce back from early season wouldn't have been as what's the word? Convincing without him stepping in for that period of time. We needed him at that time, and he filled in great at that time. But yeah, now that Anderson's back,
okay,
say la vie.
This is what the internet says. The internet says you have to play in at least half the regular season games.
Half the regular season?
Yeah.
Or maybe as a goalie, maybe it's 20 or something like that.
Okay.
But I don't know. Maybe it's different. For some reason, that 20 number's sticking with me. But yeah, I knew you had to play at least one. You had to play 1 in the playoffs or in the regular season. A decent amount, at least in the regular season.
Okay, well, I got to read this again because this is the official. I don't know if this is on Reddit. Player have their name engraved. They must have played at least half of the regular season games, 41, or 1 game in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Really? It has to be the finals.
Yeah. So if someone plays only 1 game in the conference final and only 10 regular season games, they would not qualify to have their name on the cup.
What if you're a stud out of college, you get signed at the end of the season, you play a handful of games, you do the Cale Makar thing, and then you get injured right before, no, he didn't win it his first year when they came out. It was his first full season. I believe they won the cup.
This is what the NHL says to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's BS. Because what if you're a great player and you get injured right before the finals?
So what about
you score the game-winning goal to take it to the finals, and then you jam your head into the boards from a player hitting you or something? That's BS.
Yeah.
The Stanley Cup is the whole journey. It's not just the finals. The finals are difficult, and you got to win the finals, but you have to get to the finals.
Yeah.
It's
interesting. We can maybe have that discussion later.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenarios where people will be unfairly treated.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like when we won in 06, how many games did Eric Cole play that year?
I don't know. It's a good question. Did he play half?
I don't think he did. But he did come back and play one game in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I wonder if that's why they did it.
He only played one in the finals.
One or two. It wasn't at the start of the Stanley Cup. It was like game 3 or something.
Mm.
And yeah, so I don't. It's very interesting.
I don't think that's why they did it. They did it because they thought it would give them the best shot of winning the game.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, 55 minutes later, we did it.
Did we do it? Okay.
Yeah, kept it short.
So we have 3 games left. I know we got to finish our 4th game against Columbus, and we play. They're coming up here to play the Blackhawks. I'm thinking I might go to it next Sunday.
The Hurricanes?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, go.
They have a 5:00 game on Sunday.
Yeah, go to that.
Yeah. You want to go?
I'd love to go. Can't go.
Oh, 6 p.m. Sorry. All right.
It's
Yeah.
probably a late
So the
flight
Blues, I think, are out of it. The Blackhawks, last time I checked, they were out of it. The Blackhawks are not doing that bad because during most of the season,
they're better. They're a better team than they should be.
Yeah,
because they've got a ton of injuries, and that lineup fucking sucks.
Yeah,
and they are still not that bad. They still beat good opponents sometimes.
What I'm trying to say is, early on in the season, there was talk about them being the favorite to get the lottery pick again. And how upset the other teams in the league would be because when they got Bedard, the odds weren't for them to win that pick.
Yeah, but it's never like there's a lot of teams that could win it. It's like
these conspiracy theorists come out of the woodwork.
Like the top team has only 25% chance of winning it. It's not like an overwhelming huge majority. It's still only a quarter of the chance that you win it. 75% chance that you're not going to get the lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Go Canes.
Go Canes.
We'll talk next week.
Finish off the season strong and talk about some playoff stuff. It's coming up. Get excited, Caniacs.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.